Okay, I'd like to call the April 18th, 2017 Goffstown Sewer Commission meeting to order. I'd like everyone to introduce themselves, starting with my right. Collis.
Collis Adams, Selectman's Representative.
Lynn Pooler, Sewer Secretary.
Tim Redmond, Commissioner.
Steve Green, Commissioner.
Rob Trapaz, Commissioner.
Mike Gergo, DPW.
Mike Walton, DPW.
Mike Trank with Oil Tanner.
Okay, no public comment. Approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes of March 21st, 2017 as presented.
I have a couple pen changes.
Should it be read into the record?
Mostly involves the spelling of my last name.
So that,
Minor.
so those are the only changes? We probably should read them into the record, though. You changed the spelling of your last name. Okay. So my motion is the same with the corrections as noted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Select a chairman.
Motion for Steve Green to be the chairman of the commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to make Rob Trapaz the vice chair in the event that Steve can't make the meeting.
Well, that's a little different, but I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You didn't say you accepted it, but you got it.
All right.
But he voted aye.
Drafted.
I need to step forward. You guys,
No, they all stepped back. Okay, the vote on the rate study. Do we have that do we have the contract? If we-
I did resend it after the last meeting.
I got it.
I have some copies if anyone needs them.
I'd like one, Mike, please, sir.
got the November.
Thank you, sir.
This is a letter type of contract. The proposal is actually attachment B, that's what it says.
Thank you, sir.
previously.
How long would you expect this to take?
Well, I put a completion time of 6 months, but I think it could be done sooner than that. It's really just a question of, getting the financial and related information that's necessary to plug into the model. So if we can get all that, that should move along quickly.
When's the last time we did it? Like 8 years ago, 9 years ago?
Well,
I think at 2007?
10 years ago?
did I put that date in here? 2009.
8 years ago.
2009, yeah.
Any comments?
Does this involve PRMG, or is this just?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's a note in there
Yes.
later on.
They would be the subconsultant.
Right, so is there a line item for them?
Um,
I just see man hours here.
I didn't include their man hours.
So their man hours are included in this or over and above this?
No, they're included.
Oh, they're included.
I just didn't include the breakdown.
Do we need a breakdown, Rob?
No, I mean, as
Because
long as,
they can supply us with one if you want one.
Right.
so it's 18 hours of principal time, 8 senior engineer, 8 junior engineer. If that includes the pyramid, the sub-consultant time, that's fine. So is it they have the model and they're basically,
Mhm.
you're sending them the data, so
Yeah.
that senior engineer time is really their time for all intents and purposes?
Yeah, a lot of that,
Split
well,
with
a
their
lot of
junior.
that senior engineer time in the labor breakdown is just coordination effort,
Updated in 2013.
getting the information from the
Yeah,
town,
but that
getting it
was,
to them. Workshop meeting here and there with the commission, stuff
He
like
just took a
that.
real quick look at it, he didn't really go through it. He was asking about 2013, and that's when we took a real quick look at it, and kind of like the question was, do we need to do the whole thing from the beginning again, or can we just keep going forward? And it was...
You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you do have to put all of the current financial information in.
Right, but the question is, what did we do in 2013? In 2013, we just took a real quick look at it, and the question was more or less, do we have to go through the whole thing or not, or can we just keep going like we're going? That wasn't a full-blown,
Yeah.
that was like, yeah, we
I don't
we
even
can go
remember
another
what
4 or
we did.
5 years, and we're still all set,
Yeah, I don't even remember what we did back then.
But it was just, the question was, is it time to do the rate study again? So it had been, at that point, it had been 5 years, I guess.
Yeah,
And you looked at it and came back and said, we're in pretty good shape, just,
yeah,
not
right,
turning over every single rock, but
Okay.
that,
right.
Thank you, Steve.
We could do the same thing, do a cursory look.
Well, I think it's time to, think about, are we going to raise the rates? We're not going to raise the rates? We also got the question about the sewer accessibility fee that hasn't been answered. We got these projects in Penodville, the pump stations, who knows what else. I think it's short money just to go through the whole thing, and then we'll be set for another 8, 9 years, or whatever.
Sure.
That'd be my view. Yeah, Tim?
I think this is a good idea, Steve, because I don't know where I was reading within the last week. I don't know if I read in the Union Leader or someplace else, there was some town was being criticized for not updating their rates. And they were being criticized for not having proper funds in place for emergencies and such. And obviously, your rates are always tied to your capital savings. So I think this is a good thing that we're doing this, and we can review our capital savings and come up with an answer when the time comes.
I agree. I think in particular, it's a good idea because, Tim, neither you or I were here when that was done, so we don't have any familiarity with the model or what went into it, and, try to get a feeling for what type of recommendations are going to come out of it. So,
You looking for a motion, Mr.?
It's a 5-year projection, we take the current financial information, operating budget, capital projects, things like that, costs to Manchester, that all goes into the model, and that's projected out 5 years, making some assumptions as to growth or cost increase, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3% or something. And that's done both on the cost side and the revenue side. And then, we just look at whether or not going forward, the revenues generated are sufficient to cover the costs. It's fairly basic, but that's really what's in the model.
and the biggest costs are relative to the upgrades that are going on in Manchester, correct, in that whole...
Well, your operating budget is significant, but yeah, and then the upgrades in Manchester.
So, I guess what I'm trying to understand is what was harnessed in that last model, and what's changed with our obligations since that was done? Make sure
Off
that-
the top of my head, probably some of the changes would be any bonds that you were paying on that have been paid off since. I think there's probably a couple of those. Some projects probably have been completed in Manchester.
Well, we have a new bond, that bond for the work in Penodville, that was, we took that bond out after
Yeah,
this,
Right.
and we retired the, I guess Nollcrest was the last one we retired.
right, yeah.
And the city of Manchester, the numbers that they gave us, even back when we first, they're still pretty close to what they said they were gonna do.
Mhm.
But I think the biggest change is gonna be, us getting more aggressive with the repairs we have to do to the, our pipes in town. We got this stuff going on in Penodville. Mike Yurgo's got a list of deficiencies all over the town, and, you know, if we want to get more aggressive about, you know, doing those repairs, that's going to take some money. Right?
That's absolutely
I
right.
think that's probably going to be the biggest thing, is when they get, his list is probably going to be the biggest change.
Yeah, and, you know, as part of this exercise, we would certainly want to sit down and talk to Mike, see what makes sense to include going forward for budgeting.
So what are we talking about in terms of taking a deeper look? Is it having Mike present the model to us again so we can understand it, maybe have a workshop? What,
Well, I guess the first thing I'll do is we can have them come in and talk about the model before we start. That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is they can collect the information, you know, get the finances from Lynn, get,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I understood that this meeting was open to the public, and I was
Sure.
wondering if I could sit in. Thank you.
I lost my train of thought. And, you know, get the list from Mike, you know, what projects he's working on, and the stuff from the city and so on, so we could, you know, look at the model before we start, get some figures, look at it and tweak it. I mean, there's all kinds of ways you could do it. Whatever, you know, whatever you feel comfortable with.
any thoughts, Tim?
I was all set, I was going to make a motion if we're ready to move forward, Steve.
I'm ready.
Okay.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to enter into a contract with Hoyle Tanner regarding the sewer use change rate sufficiency evaluation and update for a actual cost not to exceed fee of $25,930.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The sewer use ordinance. Where are we at? Is it done, almost done? Do we need another meeting? I know we talked about a couple things we wanted to change.
Well, from our perspective, it's done. The only thing outstanding at this point is a formal review by DES and the City of Manchester.
Well, last time we talked about the idea that, you know, we approved some grinder pumps at the last meeting, which isn't in the ordinance.
Yeah, that's right. Paula actually did find some language. DES didn't have anything on that, but she looked at some other communities and was able to find some language pertaining to grinder pumps. And
Well, the big thing I'm looking for, if everyone's agreeable, is I think we should say something in there that if someone comes in for a proposal for grinder pumps, they have to come before the commission with their plans, and they'll be cited on an individual one-by-one case. So in other words, just because we approve that one doesn't mean you can put them all over town. That's what I'm worried about,
so you
so.
want to do that on a case-by-case?
Exactly,
Yeah, that's fine.
exactly. And
Yeah.
just because, you know, we said yes this time, doesn't mean we're gonna say yes next time, because these, you know, I think we gotta look at each one individually, and I don't
Sure.
wanna put it on them. You know, they did a good job last time, they did what they're supposed to do, they sent them here, but I think that's one area where we should have the final say in it,
Yeah.
because it's.
Absolutely.
And we'll also get some feedback from that project, maybe, whether it's a successful project or if they have their own problems that we would not want to recommend in the future. So we can get feedback from that project and see how that goes. So we're not ready to vote on the sewer use ordinance then tonight, are we?
I will send you the language that Paula has added on the grinder pumps, and if you're okay with that, then, like I say, the next step probably would be, and this is up to you, of course, but probably to send it up to DES for review and approval, and concurrently send it to Manchester to look at, too.
Has DES reviewed this document at all yet, Mike?
No.
So you'd add the language for the grinder pumps and send the whole document up for them?
Yeah, I mean, Paula, the engineer that's worked on it, has had discussions with individuals at DES about specific subject matter within the ordinance, but they have not reviewed it in its entirety at this point, no.
So if you could just email us the one page or the one paragraph related to the
Sure.
pumps you were going to,
Yep.
and where it would go into the ordinance possibly, and then we could, you don't have to look at that one page.
Sure.
Yeah, I just have one other item to add to that, only one. In section 2.2C, it makes reference to inspection shall be made within 1 business day of the receipt of notice by the official. I just want to, we talked about 72 hours.
Oh, yeah, 72.
I just want to make sure that that's consistent. I know somewhere else it was,
What, do you have the
listed-
section?
yeah, sure, it's 2.2C.
Okay.
So it's talking about final inspection, and I just want to make sure that we're consistent with, there was another section where we did have 72 hours.
I'd prefer a vote on the idea that the grinder pumps have to be approved individually. I'd like a vote here, so it's in the minutes and make sure it gets in there.
Make a motion that any grinder pump project that comes before the sewer commission will be handled on a case-by-case basis and duly stated in the sewer use ordinance.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll send you the relevant language then. I'll just isolate that and send that over. So
Okay.
you can take a look at it.
So, just to be clear, you're going to send the language over, or are we just going to reply via email, or we have to vote on that again to send it?
Well, he can send it and we vote on it the next meeting, you know.
It's going to go as draft, so I'm not,
Yeah, yeah.
it's one section.
Let's get it up there as soon as we can, and if something comes up, we can always call them and say, hey, the little note on page 7 or whatever, you know what I mean? Get the, we've been dragging our feet on this a little bit.
So Mike, am I to understand that there's no DES design standard for grinders?
They have design standards, they just didn't have any language pertaining to, or a policy, regarding grinders. That's just left up to the individual communities.
Oh, as far as a
As far
policy
as like a
goes.
sewer use ordinance goes, ordinance language, they really didn't have. So that's really just left up to the individual communities to deal with. But yeah, they do have some design standards.
And are those, is that referenced in that language?
I'd
Or
have to
could you
look.
see to it that the
Yeah.
standards are referenced in that
Yeah.
language?
Well, this Miller's Crossing project, that has to be approved by the state, correct?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
Okay. Any more on the sewer use ordinance? Main Street sewer repair.
yeah, we went out and get some prices for vendors to do the sewer, the repair, point repair, and pipe replacement and a new manhole on Main Street, which will, point repair will be done at night, because in front of Howell's Pharmacy, where it's, you have to do it at night because of the traffic. So we get some quotes and basically recommending the Henniker sewer and drain services be awarded the amount that they have, and what are the quote.
Well, when is this gonna be done?
We have to schedule it between the water and DPW's timing. So it's gonna be scheduled somewhere in between, because the water's working at night as well, so we gotta fit it in.
Well, when we get into this kind of money, isn't there, according to the town purchasing policy, we're supposed to advertise and go through the whole
Under
thing?
$10,000, you can get quotes. Over $10,000 is sealed bid.
And from
Well,
what
I
I
don't see
read,
anything on here that's under $10,000.
They do. The point repair is one price, and the Main Street extension, the Main Street replacement in South Mass is another price.
so you asked them for individual prices?
Individual prices or individual
Okay.
bids.
And I read in your email that there were multiple requests for bids from you, correct? Neville,
Yeah, there's,
Erie, other contractors?
yeah, Park Construction, John Neville, Northeast Mechanics, and Very Old Decline.
As long as we're following the purchasing policy that is prescribed by the town, because the
Yep. Any
the outgoing town administrator said we were deficient in some areas and we need to pay close attention to the policy.
That's why they're actually two separate bills.
Do you have any sense why so many declined?
Everybody's busy.
A lot of people are busy and
And then some people didn't want to be 11 feet in the ground.
It's small, it's
It's
a
a
small
small
job.
job.
Oh, I know it is, but I just get a flavor for
I
it.
mean, and Lee's having the same problem. They're trying to find people to work.
I'm surprised at the spread, pretty big spread
Yeah.
for us there.
Wow.
You know, everyone's busy, so why not throw a
Right.
price and maybe I'll get lucky and catch one, you
No,
know?
I hear you.
Hey, Tim.
So what's our past procedure been? Do we have any retainage on these projects to make sure everything is good, or do these, in other words, for 30 days, 90 days, a year?
You get your warranty period, which they're good for.
Which is what period, Mike?
It's usually, I don't know, I think it's 90 days.
And you're going to put, that'll be in your contract?
They have a contract, they give you a document you sign.
Personally, I think we should have some sort of retainage on all contracts, even if it's for 90 days, 6 months or something, because if something does go wrong, you got to have some way of making sure that they come back and do it.
Well, we'll be there to inspect it too, so.
Well, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, it just as a matter of,
Small
procedure.
jobs, we never did a retainage for any
okay.
type of small ones.
And they meet the insurance requirements set forth by?
Yeah, they did actually the Grange septic system. So they have the insurance and the bonding to do the road excavation permit.
Because the bonding was the other question I was getting to.
Yeah, they got that.
And it may be a small job number-wise, but it's a very complex job,
Right.
considering the location you're working in.
Do they give you a time frame, Mike? Are they one-night jobs, multiple nights, cover it with
Point
a
repair
plate?
would be one night.
The one by house?
The one by house is gonna be one night. The up on the circle, that'd be done during the day.
In the event that they don't complete it in one night, will they be able to plate the road and make sure that they make it safe for the
Oh, yeah,
overnight?
they're gonna make it passable. Absolutely.
They could plate the road, they wouldn't have to backfill it and dig it up again the next day.
It's only 11-foot dig and it's only like 8 feet long, so.
Okay, I'm just
It shouldn't be any more than,
making sure that,
unless there's something in the ground that nobody knew about.
just want to make sure that we protect ourselves in the event that they don't complete it in.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna get it done.
What kind of provisions do we have for unforeseen subsurface in this contract?
No unforeseen conditions clause in your contract?
I don't think there is in that contract.
That's a good contract for us.
The only thing that's usually ledge, it's the only thing that they usually, everybody throws
Unforeseen
in.
conditions are generally extras. And if they didn't put it in, I guess there may not going to be any extras. Okay.
Well, if something happens where,
So are you looking for a vote tonight, Mike, to
Well,
get this thing
I
moving?
mean, yeah, you can get a vote or, I mean, one way or the other, it's
You
gotta
gotta
happen.
get it done.
It's gotta
So ba-
happen, so.
So based on the representation from Mike Yurgo and the explanation about following the purchasing policy and such, I would recommend that we award the 2 contracts, separate amounts, to Henniker Sewer and Drain.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a guest. Do you have anything you'd like to say, or?
No, not at all, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Observing?
Yeah, I have democracy in action hours that I need to attain to graduate high school, so I'm just.
Oh, good.
Oh, great.
We're very democratic here.
Glad to have you here.
I can tell you guys are really. I
Steve's
appreciate
in
it.
charge and we do what Steve says. That's how the democracy works. Okay, we did our AP warrants already. I already signed mine. Rob's got them down there.
Yeah, what's the other signatures here?
Well, you picked a good one, because these meetings are pretty quick.
Did you do the last meeting's drain layers licenses already? Did they get approved?
Yeah, I did the last minute, is yellow.
And did they get sent out yet? Because I didn't get mine yet. That's why I
I think it's
wondered.
probably in here.
Oh, okay.
Waiting for your check to clear.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But these two need to be signed? Oh, all these need to get signed.
Yeah, you can send the
Oh,
cards.
that's it.
That's the
Yeah, give him, is Tim's in there?
Yeah, mine's in there somewhere.
We'll sign everyone but yours then.
I'll sign my own.
You got held up because you didn't fill out the back of yours.
Yeah, I fill out the back.
Fails to follow instructions.
Okay, any other business, comments, concerns?
I sent an email about a residence, that there was an apartment building added to the building. So I don't know if you want to discuss it now, or you want to discuss it on the non-public.
I think it's a public matter, isn't it? Did you read the email, Steve, by chance?
No, I didn't.
I didn't either.
Well, what's going on with the building department? They have an interest in this? I mean,
The zoning officer found a resident on the location that apparently was built as a single-family house. And the zoning department found that there was a apartment in the basement, another living unit in the
An
basement.
illegal apartment. Illegal?
Illegal. So the assessing changed the card from a single-family to a two-family. So that means that they would have to apply for a sewer permit for the change of use, because they're increasing the flow, plus they would have to pay the accessibility fee, and plus they'll have to pay the sewer users, as instead of one treatment, they would have to pay two treatments.
what do they have to say for themselves? Don't
Well,
use any names or
I'm not,
addresses
that's
or anything. Okay.
I don't know what they said.
They,
I don't know.
I can tell you what I know, that they bought the house like that, and they didn't realize that the prior owners, didn't have the permit for it.
How long have they owned the house?
I don't know that.
It must have been just flipped. I'd have to say.
How much is the increase?
Well, your accessibility would be $5,000. Plus you get an extra $100 treatment unit out of him, so instead of going from $100 quarterly, you go to $200 quarterly. You have to fill out a permit because it is a change of use and an increase of flow. Under
It
the
would
sewer
be a
usage.
half a unit, wouldn't it? Didn't we?
So
Depends on how big it is.
it's over 920 square feet. Accessibility dwelling is 650 square feet of gross space. So my recommendation would actually be so commissioner send a letter.
Yeah, why don't we send them a letter and,
Invite them
have
in.
you talked to them at all?
No, haven't talked to nobody about anything yet.
All right.
Just the only thing I know is the zoning official.
Are both units occupied?
I believe so.
Why don't you send them a letter and, Tim?
Well, I was going to, wait till you finish your statement. I was going to say what you were going to say. I think we should invite them to a sewer commissioners meeting and explain what's going on and find out what they have to say for themselves. Let them speak directly to the issue.
Yeah, let them come to the next meeting and, we'll, do it in executive session or whatever.
So if they choose to discontinue the use of the apartment unit,
Goes
do
away.
they have to provide proof that they've done that? I mean, what's the process, yeah?
You have
They
to
have to
take out
disconnect.
like the kitchen.
All right.
Usually the sewer commission in the past has always used the assessing card. To base their judgments on and increase or decrease the flow on treatment unit. And that's why the card got changed.
Right. What they gotta do is they get the card changed back to 1, and once that happens, we're all set, that's more or less between them and the
Assessing.
assessor.
The problem is if they indeed bought the house, the belief that it was,
Right.
Well, then they have an argument with whoever sold them the house, the realtor, but they don't have an argument with us.
Trying to weigh, they're gonna have to weigh the increased revenue versus what it's gonna cost to go through the process to get it legitimized.
Is it like a rental, or is it, family members living there?
I don't know.
Not that I'm just curious.
I have no
Okay,
clue.
well, enough of that. So, Lynn, you'll send them a letter and, have them ask them to call you and kind of explain what's going on, and invite them to the next meeting.
Okay.
That's probably the best way to do it.
And just so you guys know, I've got to work with Nick Karanekis tonight on one of the manholes that's still making noise on South Mass. But we're gonna do it tonight from inside the manhole with some shims and some hydraulic cement so that we can barrel it so people don't drive over it again.
Is the waterworks people gonna be out there again tonight?
We'll be way down by Barnard Lane.
No, but are they working tonight, do you know?
Oh,
Just
yes.
curious.
Yeah, so, and they were thinking they'd probably get into our sewers tonight too, so.
I will give you a call.
Any more business concerns, comments? Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.